Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning for those in North America. I'm Andrew Nevin, the moderator for this extraordinary event, which is His Royal Highness Muhammad Sanusi II's SDG, Sustainable Development Goal Challenge. We're going to have a remarkable next hour and 45 minutes. I'll run through the program in a moment, but let me start by honoring the presence of His Excellency President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who is graciously joining us today. We are especially honored in his presence. We have many other distinguished guests that we will be introducing during the course of our program today. After some remarks from all of our distinguished speakers, we're going to have a chance to hear from 10 remarkable young people who have extraordinary programs that are transforming education in Africa. And of course, this is the SDG Challenge. These programs focus on SDG 4 and SDG 5, but the reality is that the SDG 4 and 5 are the foundation for all SDGs, all 17 SDGs. This is our running order for today. We'll hear from in a moment from His Royal Highness Muhammad Sanusi II. We'll then hear from His Excellency President of the Republic of Ghana. We'll then hear from 4 other extraordinary SDG advocates who will be introduced shortly. And then we'll acknowledge the presence of so many of our VIPs, including the trustees of the SDG Challenge. And then we'll be on to the program where we'll hear from, as I said, our 10 extraordinary young people who are doing amazing things in education. We put them in 3 groups, and we'll hope to have a chance to have a discussion about that. So it's going to be an extraordinary program. I'm really excited about it, and thank you everyone for joining. So let me at this time ask His Royal Highness to give us the welcome address.
Thank you very much, Andrew. It is my great honor to welcome, first and foremost, His Excellency President Nana Akufo-Addo, the President of the Republic of Ghana. Your Excellency, thank you very much for having kindly agreed to grace this occasion. It's a great for me, and I look forward to your support, your continued support in this area. I'd also like to welcome fellow advocates. They haven't yet joined, but I've seen Eddie Ndpo, who's joined. There's Dr. Murabit, there's Indo Ibrahim. We're waiting for them to join. This is a fireside chat around the SDG challenge, and it's focused on education. As I've always said, my focus has been SDG 4, SDG 5, SDG 8. And I really believe that education in Africa, especially the girl child education, holds the key to unlocking many of the problems around SDGs. Nigeria in particular has this big problem. We have 1 out of every 5 of the world's after-school children is in Nigeria. Even though primary education is officially free and compulsory, about 10.5 million of the country's children aged 5 to 14 years are not in school. Only 61% of the 6 to 11-year-olds regularly attend primary school, and only 35.6% of children aged 3 years to 6 years receive early childhood education. In the north of the country, where I come from, the problem is even bleaker, with a net attendance rate of 53%. Getting out of school children back into education poses a massive challenge. Gender, like geography and poverty, is an important factor in the pattern of educational marginalization. States in the Northeast and Northwest have female primary net attendance rates of 47.7% and 47.3%, respectively, meaning that more than half of girls are not in school. The education deprivation in northern Nigeria is driven by various factors, including economic barriers and socio-cultural norms and practices that discourage attendance in formal education, especially for girls. And I can imagine that this problem is repeated across African countries and certainly certain parts of those countries. My dream is to develop Africa's future leaders and to ensure that every child has the opportunity to reach his or her potential. SDG 4, inclusive, equitable, high-quality education, and SDG 5, gender equity through advancing economic empowerment for men and girls are my primary focus areas. I've had a lifetime commitment and advocacy on access to quality education and gender equity, going back to my days as governor of Central Bank and before. And this is the reason I'm the advisory board chair for 1 Million Teachers, an organization based in Canada that empowers teachers to provide inclusive and gender responsive education in the most under-resourced communities around the world. Stepping up these efforts with the decision to establish a challenge is why we're here. It is a call to action for teachers, female teachers across Africa. Together with 1 Million Teachers and partners, especially Queen's University in Kingston, Toronto, Canada, Kingston, Ontario, Canada, we're trying to create a grassroots movement of empowered teacher change makers, people who are in the front lines of education and gender equity. It's founded on the belief that Africa has everything it needs to be able to transform its educational system from within, and that empowering teachers is the fastest way to improve our education system. The design of the HHMS2 SDG challenge started with an objective, which is improved, equitable, cost-effective, safe, and coordinated provision of innovative, quality, gender-responsive education, particularly for girls in the most under-resourced regions of the world, and to empower teachers in sub-Saharan Africa to experiment with innovative, scalable educational programs and practices by providing funding, training, incubation, and exposure. The target audience of the challenge is aimed at practicing teachers in sub-Saharan Africa who have a vision or have already launched their own projects. Teachers must be passionate about improving education, particularly for the girl child. Some of the benefits of the participation included a $500 initial grant to support the piloting and testing of their concepts, and an initial 8-month incubator program, along with follow-up coaching and mentorship led by 1 Million Teachers. We give them structured support, group and individual coaching, access to mentors, lifetime access to the 1 Million Teacher Learning Professional Development Program. They also have networking opportunities and expert coaching on a range of entrepreneurship topics, design thinking, project management, budgeting, stakeholder engagement, systems thinking, lean data approaches, marketing, and more. It is designed to create a supportive environment that helps them accelerate the development of their solutions and helps them spread the benefits to the broader community. To ensure greater and wider impact, the most promising projects receive follow-on funding to enable replication and scaling. Our hope is to use some of these ideas as proof of concept to show how, with these innovations, we can deliver education to the less privileged segments of society and hopefully get partners in the form of government and multilateral institutions to further scale up to a much wider population. The applications were opened in October 2020. We received over 900 applications for this cohort, the first cohort. Through a rigorous selection process, this initial group was narrowed down to 10, who now form our pilot cohort, and these are the 10 that you will hear from today. Moving forward, we aim to increase the number of applicants that we're able to accept, while also maintaining a very high touch model. The program was launched in January 2021. The first showcase will take place in August 2021, and we're hoping to start a fundraising drive to raise $2 million to fund a scale of the projects over the next 10 years. I would like to acknowledge again the presence of His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, the President of the Republic of Ghana, Eddie Ndpo, who's an award-winning internationally acclaimed activist and humanitarian, fellow SDG advocate. I'm hoping that by now would have Dr. Ala Morabit would have joined us, she's a leading global health and inclusive security expert. Indo Ibrahim, expert in indigenous people's adaptation to climate change, traditional ecological knowledge and climate change mitigation strategies. And I hope we'll get from all these great advocates and the cohort to benefit from the experience. I would also like to thank the project team and the trustees. We have a board of trustees, Dr. Masur Mukhtar of the Islamic Development Bank, Dr. Jane Kim, and Ms. Sherry Houston are here with us. And the members of the team, Hakim Zubair, Halima Wali, Rizma Butt, Seth Warren, Eric Zhang, Shubho Misho Fawara, and Haben Tesfa Michael, who have worked very hard since October to bring us to this day and to see this project to fruition. We hope to grow the challenging and into an annual Pan-African program, empower thousands of teachers to bring to life their own vision for the future of education in Africa. Our next steps will be to continue to work with the current cohort until September 2021. Ongoing support will continue with focus on getting more traction. In September, we'll be hosting a dinner to showcase the projects and the incredible progress that program participants have made. I would like once more to thank His Excellency, the President, and all SDG advocates, trustees, and team members, and the cohort, and to thank the 10 winners, congratulate them, and thank them for all the effort they've put in over the last few months to improve, and we can see the progress so far, and we hope to continue making this progress. I welcome you all to this Fireside chat. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Your Royal Highness, for that powerful introductory and welcome for everyone. And also thank you in particular for designing and driving a program that is going to have such an impact. It's already having an impact around Africa in such a high leverage way. It's just wonderful. So thank you. I really have the pleasure now of asking SDG advocate and His Excellency President of the Republic of Ghana to speak to us now. It's just, as His Royal Highness said, such an honor to have you here, sir. So thank you so much, and we're all looking forward to hearing from you.
So, thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank very much His Highness Muhammad Sanusi of the ancient state of Kano and my fellow SDG advocates for the opportunity to be part of this exciting initiative. It has such an immense potential for transforming communities. And I commend His Highness for his outstanding leadership and the manifest support he has provided for two of the most critical SDGs, namely SDG 4 on education and SDG 5 on gender equality. As the African Union's gender champion and the initiator of the free senior high school policy education policy in Ghana, there's not a shred of doubt in my mind that if we fail to unleash the full potential of our young girls and women through the provision of quality education, our quest to realize the SDGs will become a pipe dream. It's great to see, my fellow advocates, that in the midst of COVID-19, we continue to champion the noble cause of the SDGs. For the SDGs are even more relevant today. We must continue to work exceptionally hard to achieve the SDGs so as to be able to deal better with future pandemics, even when they occur. The combined impact of education and achieving gender equality in Africa, and indeed across the world, is plain for all to see. It is as if that great Ghanaian educationalist and sage, Dr. Kwegyir Aggrey of blessed memory, made his famous pronouncement for a day like this when two key themes, education and gender equality, would again be the focus of an initiative in Africa. He once said it has been oft-cited, but I believe it bears repeating. If you educate a man, you educate one person. But if you educate a woman, you educate a whole nation. This laudable initiative led by His Highness and the 1 Million Teachers Organization, taken to scale, would be the epitome of this historic comment by Dr. Aggrey. Your Highness, advocates, in September 2017, in my first year as President of Ghana, I made good on my promise to the Ghanaian people to make senior high school education free. In Ghana at the moment, the free senior high school policy is giving a fair chance to all, including especially previously marginalized young girls an opportunity to succeed in life. I'm particularly delighted that His Highness is also paying close attention to education with a clear emphasis on gender equality. Education is the lifeblood of development and prosperity. It is indeed a key enabler and has the greatest multiplier effect in achieving all the other SDGs. Without education, individuals cannot get decent jobs to contribute to economic growth. Without education, individuals cannot grow out of poverty. And clearly, without education, the intrinsic potential of a human being cannot be fully unleashed. Developing the human capital of our continent is premised on education, including notably technical and vocational education and ICT. We cannot take our people out of poverty and eliminate economic, political, and social inequalities without broad-based quality education and a gender-sensitive approach to both policy formulation and program implementation. Fellow advocates and our distinguished cohorts, allow me to echo a very strong personal belief, which is that we cannot develop our beloved continent, nor can achieve the Africa we want with an uneducated population. We cannot eliminate poverty on our continent if people are uneducated. We cannot fight the wars of hunger and disease without education. And we certainly cannot create robust economic growth and decent employment opportunities without investing in quality education. We must therefore expand aggressively quality education to provide the current generation with the skills, the confidence, and the hope that will prevent them from crossing the Sahara Desert and traversing the dangerous oceans in search of an elusive better life elsewhere. But as we seek to do so, we must leverage technology to bring about quality education to all homes, as leveraging smart technology and innovation in education delivery are going to be key going forward. And that is why I'm most impressed with the various projects being pitched under the HHMS2 challenge, most of which are about leveraging innovation and finding creative solutions to deal with the challenges to expanding quality education. Now to our cohorts who have made this particular day a reality. Our countries, our people, and our communities owe you a great debt of gratitude. You are the cutting edge of the change and the transformation that our continent so urgently needs. You are our change agents and important drivers of change in our communities. For 1 year in life, all too short, I was a teacher, and I can tell you that teaching is a noble profession, and it has been so since the days of Christ and Muhammad. Education is the bedrock of society's transformation and development. You are our silent heroes and an inspiration to us. Hearty congratulations, and I commend you deeply for your contribution in making His Highness's SDGs challenge such a success. To my brother and friend, Your Highness Muhammad Sanusi II, I thank you for being such an outstanding leader and partner as we work to bring prosperity and dignity to our people and to our world. Congratulations once again to Your Highness and to the cohorts for this valuable initiative that holds so much prospects as we endeavor collectively to achieve the bold ambitions enshrined in the SDG. Thank you for giving me these few moments.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, and thank you for that extremely powerful speech, but in particular, thank you for being such a beacon of light across Africa with under your presidency, the practical steps that Ghana has taken for education with the free secondary schools and other programs, and also with the gender equality. It's really, as someone who has lived in Nigeria for a long time, it is just with great pleasure I just watched the developments in Ghana. So thank you for for gracing us with your presence today, Your Excellency, and thank you for all you're doing for education, for gender equality, and for everything else, and of course, all of your activities as an SDG advocate. At this stage, I think maybe we've used the term SDG advocate a number of times, just so everyone understands who these people are. There are 17 of them, all eminent people from around the world. They are appointed directly by the Secretary General of the UN. And we are blessed today, of the 17 global SDG advocates, we have 6 in our presence. So His Royal Highness, of course, is one of them. His Excellency President of the Republic of Ghana is another. And 4 others have joined us today to be part of the program of the Fireside Chat. And I'd like to now call on Sabomi Sofawara, who's one of the leaders of the SDG, His Royal Highness SDG Challenge. And she is going to tell us the 4 other SDG advocates that are part of our program today. So Sabomi.
And Andrew, can I just mention that His Excellency is co-chair advocates along with the Prime Minister of Norway.
Oh, well, yes, actually, I did read that, and we should not neglect that. His Excellency is the co-chair with the Prime Minister of Norway. So his picture, when you go to the SDG Challenge page, sorry, SDG Advocate page, His Excellency, his picture is first. Sabomi, you're on mute, I think.
Thank you, Dr. Andrew. I'm particularly delighted and honored to be introducing the SDG advocates that we have with us here today. In no particular order, I will briefly introduce Dr. Ala Murabit. I don't know if she's joined us yet, but I'll just read through her profile first. Dr. Ala Murabit is a medical doctor, Canadian Meritorious Service Cross recipient, and a UN High-Level Commissioner of Health, Employment and Economic Growth, with strong focus on challenging societal and cultural norms. Dr. Murabit champions women's participation in peace processes and conflict mediation, as well as the role of local leaders to implement peace and security. In 2016, she founded a global mentorship program for emerging leaders and co-founded the Omnis Institute, an independent nonprofit organization committed to challenging critical global issues through the empowerment of emerging local leaders. It will be interesting to know that at the age of 21, Dr. Ala founded and spearheaded the Voice of Libyan Women, which was set up to advocate for women's rights, focusing mainly on the political participation and economic empowerment of women in Libya. Next on my list is Indo Ibrahim. Ms. Ibrahim is an expert in indigenous peoples' adaptation to climate change, traditional ecological knowledge, and climate change mitigation strategies. She is an environmental activist and geographer. She is co-chair of the International Indigenous Peoples Forum on Climate Change. She's from Mumboro Pastoral Community in Chad. Ms. Ibrahim founded the Association for Indigenous Women and People of Chad and works to empower indigenous voices and ensure their inclusion on international platforms. She leads several concrete projects that improved access to basic needs of indigenous people while promoting their unique contribution to the protection of the environment. Also with us today is Dia Mirza. Dia is an award-winning actor, producer, and UN Environment Goodwill Ambassador. Today, Dia has become the voice of environmental and wildlife conservation in the region and torchbearer for causes related to nature. She was appointed as the UN Environment Goodwill Ambassador for India at the UNEA Assembly held in Nairobi, Kenya. She championed the campaign Beat Plastic Pollution along with the UN, leading to World Environment Day in 2018. She believes that the creative arts, cinema, documentaries, and photography are powerful tools for social change and conservation. Last but not the least, we have here with us Edward Ndpo. Mr. Ndpo is an award-winning, internationally acclaimed activist and humanitarian. Diagnosed with spinal muscular atrophy at age 2 and given only 5 years to live, he has gone on to become a beacon of hope and possibility for people with disabilities around the world. Eddie, fondly called, currently serves as special advisor to RTW Investments, a leading investor in scientific and medical innovation. He has also advised organizations such as the World Economic Forum, UN Women, and Amnesty International. Mr. Ndpo holds a master's in public policy from Oxford University and is currently setting in motion plans to deliver a televised address to the UN from space in an effort to inspire greater ambition around the SDGs. And this would make him the first physically disabled person to travel into space. Welcome once again to all the SDG advocates. And over to you, Dr. Edward.
Thank you, Salome. It's just inspiring each of the stories of the SDG advocates. So we're going to ask each of the advocates to give us a few remarks around a theme here, and a couple of our advocates are having a little bit of trouble joining, so I hope they manage to join before this part's over. But if they join afterwards, we'll still have to give them a chance to speak. But I wanted to call on Mr. Eddie to start on it. He's going to talk about relating the SDG challenge to inclusion, and I'm really looking forward to his remarks. His story certainly inspires many people, but also inspired me. So Eddie, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Let me start by first thanking my dear mentor and somebody that I really hold in the highest regard, His Highness. Thank you, Your Highness, for having me here. It's my absolute pleasure and honor. And of course, I would co-chair His Excellency, Mr. President. Thank you for your really powerful and moving keynote address. So much of what you said, I think, is so incredibly timely, given the context within which we are living and against the backdrop of the COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, last but not least, I really want to extend my heartfelt congratulations to the entire cohort, the 10 remarkable young leaders that His Highness has assembled here. You all are remarkable leaders, and indeed the future will be shaped by your vision for the world that you hold. By way of introduction, I want to say first and foremost that I speak to you today as a living embodiment of possibility for many reasons. Not many people know this, but about 90% of children with disabilities across our continent have never seen the inside of a classroom. These are precious children with all kinds of disabilities. And that could have been me. I could have been among the 90% because at the age of 2, I was diagnosed with a debilitating degenerative condition called spinal muscular atrophy. In other words, the older I get, the weaker I become. And so my doctors predicted that I would not live beyond the age of 5. I have since outlived myself by 25 years and counting, having turned 30 last year. And I have gone on to become the first African with a degenerative disability to graduate from the University of Oxford. It was not just a personal victory for myself, but is really a symbolic victory for young Africans with disabilities across this continent to demonstrate that regardless of who we are or where we come from, we are capable of achieving the extraordinary. And so in my capacity as an SDG advocate, I am committed to inclusion and committed to ensuring that those furthest behind the line of opportunity are validated and put at the heart of our efforts to ensure that we attain the Sustainable Development Goals. And so I really want to thank you, Your Highness, for this incredible initiative and for your unwavering determination for inclusion and for equality. It is absolutely important that we think about those furthest behind the line of opportunity, because unless until we validate the lived experience of those of us who experience social exclusion, we will never be able to attain a world in which nobody gets left behind. So I thank you, Your Highness, for your commitment to ensuring that gender equality is part and parcel of the discourse around education. And I really want to thank our inspiring co-chair, Mr. President, for your tireless leadership to ensure that we don't leave anybody behind, that we give credence to leaving nobody behind in the fight for SDGs, and of course, my fellow SDG advocates. So I am so thrilled to be here, and to you, the remarkable cohort, I look forward to seeing what you do, and just know that you are never too young to make a difference, and you have everything you need in order to shape humanity and put it on a different trajectory. So thank you, Your Highness, for having me here.
Thank you, Mr. Eddy, for such a powerful speech and such powerful inspirational story. Please read what people are saying in the chat. You've inspired us, you've inspired people around the world, and inspired every single person today to think about. And that line really struck me was think about the people who are furthest behind the starting line in that. So thank you for being part of it. And we look forward to your comments as the winners, the SDG Challenge winners, present their programs. There's actually a section that deals with marginalized communities and education, which we often don't think about. So now I'd like to just call on Ms. Dia to speak as one of the SDG advocates. I'm really looking forward to Ms. Dia's talk, because she's going to talk about storytelling for SDGs. And if you think about human existence, it's really, we tell stories. I'm an economist by training, but no one's interested in numbers. What they're interested in is the narrative. So please, Ms. Dia, go ahead.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Your Highness, for having me here. And a big congratulations to all the young leaders who have made it this far and are going to be leading some very important change in the world. And I really look forward to telling your stories and sharing your stories. I think we're the only species in the world that thrives, survives, and understands one another better because we have the gift of storytelling. So many of the things that we use, so much of who we are, our culture, our religion, our societies are shaped by the stories, the narratives that have been built around us. And, I remember reading an adage that struck me as so true. In the end, we will only protect that what we learn about, and we will only learn that what we love. And I think the best way and the simplest way and the most accessible way to generate a sense of awareness, understanding, empathy, and that leads to action is through the power of storytelling. I know that at a personal level, there are so many films that I watched, so many stories that I saw unfold in reality around me that have propelled me in the direction that I find myself going, which is to use my life and its purpose to make a difference in the lives of people. Whether it was watching Born Free when I was a young girl, or watching The Inconvenient Truths that really, shook my innards and helped me understand how tragic our narrative had become, how self-obsessed, self-consumed, self-serving, and disregardful of every other species that we share our planet with, and all lives, the fact that all lives are connected with. So I think that without the power of storytelling, without the ability to share our experiences, we cannot truly hope to move forward, because the only way we can help each other change our attitudes, our behaviors, our understanding of one another, and achieve all the gaps, and fill all the gaps, and achieve all the goals that we have, is by exchanging our narratives and compelling people to feel more. I've always believed that human beings have the ability to empathize, but I realize more and more now that we also need to teach people empathy. And I think one of the most powerful tools to teach empathy is the tool of storytelling. And whether it is in the form of cinema or documentary or television or news, whatever that format may be, or writing, uh, it's it's a very, very powerful tool for social good and social change.
Thank you so much, Ms. Dia. Please, everyone, I'm watching the chat on another device here. Please put your remarks in the chat. It's a wonderful way to interact and express what you're feeling while we're sort of this session with a very powerful address from Ms. Dia about storytelling and how central it is to human existence. I don't think anything happens unless there's a narrative or a story behind it. So just thank you so much for that. I'd like to now call on Ms. Hindu has arrived, and she's going to speak for one of the SDG advocates, of course, that we were introduced to a little earlier. She's going to speak on something that's very powerful. She's connecting education to to the greatest challenge on the planet, the existential challenge posed by climate change. So we're all very interested in hearing that, because that is, it has to be something that's front and center of, particularly now, of course, with the United States coming back in the Paris Accord and some momentum around that. Please, we'd really like to hear more.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Good morning, everyone. It's such a great pleasure and honor to be with all of you, Your Highness, our co-chair, Mr. President, and my sister Dia, my dear brother Eddie, and all of you here. It's so a great pleasure to have a weekend with you here and speaking about the power of education, the power of storytelling, and how we can change the narrative of our world, as my boss, Eddie and Dia said. So I am coming, from indigenous communities. I'm coming from Mbororo pastoralists, who are the Fulani peoples living around the Sahel. We are a cattle herders. And that's why, in our community, traditionally, education is something who is very far, particularly the Western education. And you know what? I got a chance because I was so lucky when my mom decided to send me to school, me and my sister. So she was rejected by her own families and by my father's family. Why? Because they say, you cannot send the children to school. It is not our culture. And you send even the girls to school, this is not possible. But why did she get rejected? So that gives her more power to say, I will send my children to school, but they will not forget them culture and them identity. So that means when I went to school, at the same time, in every break of the years, even 1 week, she sent us back to the community. So I know how to milk. I walk over 10 kilometers to go and sell the milk and come back to the communities and drinking the same water from the rivers and all. And when I went to school, the children, they don't want to sit next to me. They say, oh, I'm smiling milk. I'm coming from the indigenous communities. I think many of the young people here in this panel can understand what I'm talking about it, the marginalization of peoples coming from the rural areas. And that gives me a strength. I understood that I'm got a lucky to go to the school to understand what is happening with my communities. And I said, I have to fight for the girls who have my age to rights, to education and to their own right. And I understood immediately, I cannot talk about human rights without talking about the environment rights, because we live and depend from the nature. We do not depend from the end of the month salary. We depend from the rainfall. So we have to protect the right of the nature and the right of the peoples at the same time. So that's what moved me to protection of the environment. So, you know, all of you around our regions, especially when you live around the Lake Chad, how the climate changed a lot. We are already having 1.5 degree because the heat is up to 58 to 48 to 50 degrees Celsius. And we have our resources that shrinking. Lake Chad lose his water to 90%, and we have many people living and depending on it. We don't need just to tell them about the climate change, but they are living this experience of the climate change. So which kind of education is important? We need two kinds of educations. Firstly, from the government, institutions, all of them, to understand climate change is the daily reality of our peoples. We are struggling from it. We have more than 70% of the peoples living and depending from the nature. They are fishermen, they are cattle herders, or they are pastoralists or farmers. They are fighting each other to get access to the resources. People are dying around Nigeria, around Chad, around Burkina Faso, Niger. All they are moving to get the resources, and they find killing each other. Why they're killing each other? They used to live in harmony among themselves. So this one, the institution need to change to adapt and how to protect our nature. Developed countries must change the way of environmental education. It is the responsibility of everyone in it. And this is the SDG 13, the climate change. But of course, SDG 15 also protection of the land, because land is very valuable as education to all of us. From the government side, actually, then coming down to all as citizens, we need to see how the land right, how the land tenure to be a participatory way of exchanging and of sharing the resources. So this education is very important. The second education is, we know we have a technology, we have a science, but we do have the traditional knowledge of the communities. And I'm going to share with you some of the examples. You know, like my grandmother, she didn't went to school, but she must have a PhD++. And she is the best app that I do have, because in the Western culture, you can check your phone to see if it's going to rain or not. But from my communities, my grandmother can observe the birds migration, the cloud position, the flowers, the trees, to tell you if it's going to rain or not. So this education is very valuable to all of us. We must put it in the top of the climate solutions. That's why when I get the chance, the day before yesterday, to talk in the Biden event, I say I'm so happy to see the US coming back into Paris Agreement. But the US must understand we also have our own way of environmental education. We have our knowledge that we have to combine: science, technology, traditional knowledge of our peoples to fasten the climate solutions. So my conclusion is, we don't have time. We have only 10 years to the SDGs, but also to reduce the emissions. Those 10 years, let us use all our power to make our environment healthy, because the healthy environment is the healthier of our peoples. With the COVID, we all know living in harmony with the nature is living in harmony with ourselves and having our own health. So let us do it together as the objective 17 of the SDGs. Partnership, that what we are doing as SDG advocate, and I'm calling all of you to do the same. Thank you so much. Over to you, Andrew.
Thank you, Ms. Hindu, for that inspiring speech. I mean, I think sometimes I get very discouraged about the state of the world, and particularly about climate change and some of the challenges in my home country, not home country, but country where I've lived for a decade, of Nigeria. But when I see young people standing up for the climate, I'm inspired. I think we have a bright future, and I think that your voice is one of the most important voices globally. And also, I think it just highlights the fact that climate change is not a future issue; it's a today issue. The Lake Chad region has suffered so much in the last decades from the change in the climate, and people need to understand around the world that there is no alternative. Well, no alternative for the human race, but to do this. So, thank you for all you do. So now we're almost at the point where we're going to talk about the wonderful programs of that. I'm very sorry, I don't think Dr. Allah has come. We'll make time for her if we manage to get her into the program, but so we'll move on. I just want to do a few acknowledgements of some of our special guests today. All our guests are special, but just again, I wanted to thank the Board of Trustees of His Royal Highness's challenge on that. So we have with us one of the Honorable Minister, Dr. Mansur Muhtar, who is the Minister of Finance of Nigeria when I arrived, in fact, back in 2008. Cambridge graduate, Executive Director at the World Bank, Islamic Development Bank. So thank you so much, sir, for all you're doing with His Royal Highness on it. I'd like to thank, again, Professor Jane Chin from Queen's University in Canada, the Faculty of Education, who's, again, one of the trustees with His Royal Highness. And I'd like to thank Miss Sherry Houston, who's a very well-known social entrepreneur and intrapreneur in Canada, who's also one of the trustees. So thank you all, and thank you for your presence today. But also it just reminds us it's actually a lot of connectivity between what His Royal Highness is doing in Canada, which is really great for me to see as a Canadian who lives in Nigeria for a long time. So I also wanted to acknowledge the presence today of my dear brother, the High Commissioner from Nigeria to Canada, High Commissioner Ade Asakun, who's with us today. So thank you, sir. And also the head of the Nigeria Trade and Investment Group for Canada. So these are the people trying to connect Canada business and Nigeria business. So Mr. Taiwo Odotolo. And finally, I'd like to acknowledge and thank Anne-Marie, who is the Executive Director in the UN office that partners together with His Royal Highness SDG Challenge. So thank you all for being part of this event today and for all you're doing to advance what His Royal Highness is trying to do. So with that, I think we're at the stage where we're moving on. Sorry, just looking at my notes here, moving on to hear from our fantastic winners, our 10 winners, our first cohort, as His Royal Highness called them. So the format today is as follows. So we have, what we've done is we've grouped the 10 winners into 3 groups. And in each group, we will have, because we don't quite have time to have everyone present live, there's a 1-minute video for several of the winners, and then one group will present in person. So that will mean in total we'll have 3 groups presenting in person. At the end of the video, but all of the people involved, so even the people on the video, the leaders on the video are here to answer questions or listen to the discussion. So at the end of each section, so the 1-minute videos and the 4 or 5 minute in live presentation, we'll take a pause, and the SDG advocates and His Excellency the President and His Royal Highness can comment or question at that stage, all of them in the same theme. And we'll have about 10 or 12 minutes for that at the end of it. So just before we start, just to let you know, so we have 4 of the winners in group 1, and that group's what we call novel curricula. So these are people that are really doing innovative things and how education should be done, how it's taught, what's being taught, and very interesting things. When I was in the original session 2 months ago, the kickoff session, I was amazed at the innovation that we're seeing in here. The second group that we have is literacy and numeracy. So a group of leaders that are focused on the very basic skills that are the foundation of any education. And I promised Mr. Eddie a little earlier that we had a group focused on making sure that every population has access to education. And the word we've used here is complex population. So again, these are populations that are often left behind, but these leaders have taken it upon themselves to be able to bring education, meaningful education to this group. So let's start, if we can start with the video for group 1 novel curricula. There's 4 in the novel curricula. So we'll have a 1-minute video for 3 of them. And then we'll have a live pitch by Habiba Abdul Rabio, who's connected to art. So please go ahead.
My name is Mujida Ajibola. I am the team lead at the Sustainability Hub based in Abuja, Nigeria. Very often, we hear statements such as Nigerian graduates are unemployable or school is a scam. I always said the same thing until I was forced by my son's experience with air pollution to understand the connection between externalities as taught in my undergraduate economics and vehicle emissions. This points to the gap between the education we receive in the classroom and our realities outside the classroom. When students cannot draw a connection between the skills they are taught and the skills they actually need to thrive, they get disconnected from learning as they do not see how it affects them now or later. Focusing on global development, we bring sustainability to the heart of school and teaching life. Teachers are supported through a 5-step model of understanding sustainability, making connections between the classroom and global challenges, integrating this in their work by encouraging active and participatory learning to drive change towards sustainable schools while empowering learners to take action in their communities. Please join us.
A lot of students flop their exams, despite their hard work and their teachers' hard work. I don't think it's because they are dull. I think it's because they just haven't been shown how to learn. And this is the reason for Project Learning to Learn. In terms of impact, we're relying on schools and teachers to help us to achieve our aims and objectives. Our access to schools in Abuja is gradually growing, which is good for us. For a long time, schools and teachers have focused only on teaching children what to learn. But I think it's high time we also started to teach them how to learn. And we're offering ourselves for this all-important project. Thank you for listening.
Good day, my name is Adejo Victor Idoko, the project team lead for Girls for Tech Innovators Competition. In today's world, digital literacy is a very important skill that everyone must acquire to meet societal demands. Northern Nigeria records highest out-of-school children, where 34% of these children are girls. How then can the rest who are already enrolled in school but do not have access to digital skill education cope in today and tomorrow's society? Girls for Tech Innovators Competition aimed at training and empowering girls with various digital skills ranging from basic computer application to programming and the SDGs and mobile application development. With our integrated training system, the girls will be more exposed to the concept of solving practical problems in their community in line with the SDG using ICT. Presently, for the pilot phase of this project, we have 25 teams and 125 girl child participants. At the end of this project, the girls will be awarded certificates of completion and a cash prize to be won. Support us today as we train and empower more girls into the tech space. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very honored to be here today. My name is Habiba Rabiu. I am the founder of the IT Makers, a project focused on helping girls in Northern Nigeria acquire practical skills. Today, the north of Nigeria is in conflict due to rampant poverty and insecurity, which is being escalated by other factors, such as a lack of infrastructures. And this whole scenario falls against a backdrop of low quality, inadequate education. Although the north of Nigeria accounts for more than 50% of the total Nigerian population, in a 2016 World Bank report, Northern Nigeria emerged as the sole reason for the stagnation in poverty eradication rates in Nigeria. As His Highness Muhammad Sanusi II rightly stated, nobody who is a leader in the North today can afford to be happy. This needs to change, and this is where the IT Makers project comes in. Our overarching goal is to empower the large Northern demographic to be more productive. With our project, young girls learn to make crochet products that teach them skills and help them earn better. An average size crochet stuffed toy can be made in 3 days and sold for 5,000 naira, which is the same amount that a young girl working as a house help would make in 30 days, or a young girl selling granuts on the streets can hope to make in 6 months or sometimes even a year. At the IT Makers, we believe that little things make big things happen. So while we're teaching the girls crochet now, through this, they will acquire entrepreneurship skills, which will subsequently lead them to earn better and gain life independence. Through our work, We and our students have made profound discoveries that have changed the trajectories of their lives and those of their families. Teachers of schoolgirls enrolled in our activities have reported improved concentration levels in academics, better handwriting skills, and a willingness to try harder at difficult tasks. This is because although learning handicrafts teaches girls to make things, they also develop beneficial skills such as concentration, resilience, creativity, and productivity while they do this. Also, we've learned that the stereotypes about Northern Nigerian women and girls being lazy and dependent are false, because we have met girls that are passionate about educating and improving themselves. So far, we have trained 200 girls to crochet, knit, and sew, and our next target is to train 1,000 more girls within the next 2 years. For the IT makers to grow, we are seeking partnerships for publicity, awareness, finances, and woman power. We need more hands on the job. At our current capacity, we can only take in 20 girls at a time, and we rely on mixed age grouping to facilitate our learning. Girls like Aisha have had to be turned away, and it was only through her persistence that she got to stay. Our ultimate goal is to set up a center that will train and employ more people, so more of this work can be done in teaching others. This can only happen with the right partnerships and the right finances. My vision is to start a makers movement that will change the narrative for Northern Nigeria from the current one of banditry, terrorism, and poverty to one of productivity, creativity, and self-sustenance. And the IT makers is a small step towards achieving that. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Habiba, and thank you to Adejo, Femi, and Ajibola. And it's really great to see you all again and see the projects again, but see how far they're coming. So I'm going to turn back to the SDG advocates. I mean, just so many of the themes that you talked about, these projects already touch upon. Obviously, the first one with Sustied and Ajibola is exactly what Ms. Hindu was talking about in her speech. So SDG advocates, please comments, you can connect the different projects together, you can give suggestions, you can ask questions, even the ones that were on the that were recorded. All of those leaders are online, and they're able to take questions if you want to take a question, but I'll throw it open, and maybe I'll ask Ms. Hindu to start, just given that the first one we had was on the education for sustainability.
On sustainability, I would yield to Hindu. Does Hindu have anything to say on that?
Yes, thank you so much, His Highness. And thank you very much, Habiba, for the presentation of this project. I know what is happening in the northern Nigeria because it is the same area that we are having in Chad. And we know also the power of the women in this region. When you empower them, how they can also economically can change the narrative of the northern Nigeria. So it's really very important project what you are, in the initiative that you are presenting. It can play a multiple role in economic, in the socials, in access to the gender, to the power, and also protection of the environment, as you said. So it's really very inclusive and important. Like I think this project can be connected to many of the SDGs around the 17 goals. So just one question to you, how about the access to the market? Because the poverty in this region is very, very high. And then is it people's going to put like 5,000 naira to buy your beautiful, I really love it, it's very beautiful. Are they going to buy that to give it to them children rather than buying a food to give to the kids? So this is my only worry, or maybe my only questions to you. If you can have the access to the market, it can be sustainable. But if you cannot ensure the access to the market, maybe you can redesign the objective to be more inclusive of something else to help you move forward. Thank you so much. Over to you, Andrew.
Thank you for that. So let me ask Mr. Eddie or Ms. Dia, sort of comments or connecting together. I mean, many of the themes that you talked about, both of you have been touched on in here. So please, comments or questions about any of them. So Mr. Eddie, Ms. Dia, who would like to go first?
Sure, I don't have very much to say. I'm really blown away by just the ingenuity. I mean, all of you are just absolutely remarkable. I'm truly really impressed. And I think I'll echo the sentiments of my sister Hindu. I think that, you know, all of these connections are really important because I think the thread across all three of the initiatives that were shown is really education as a tool for self-empowerment. So it's not just education for education's sake, but the initiative learning how to learn. I mean, I think that that's really fantastic because I think ultimately what we need as a continent and what young people all over the world need is critical thinking skills, the ability to understand and analyze and make sense of the world in which we live. So I want to just take my hat off to all of you for that connection. And then, yeah, I guess as Hindu asked earlier about access to market, that was sort of a thought that I had as well. But yeah, very impressed.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Eddie. Just a great comment from Winifred on there that of course there's a relationship between teaching girls to knit and STEM, right? Because it's a very mathematical thing when you do crochet. So is there a way for these things to come together? And of course, it's important to increase their incomes, not just through the crochet, but also getting women involved in STEM and inserted into global value chains. So maybe there's a connection between that. So Ms. Dia, let me ask you for any comments or questions you have on this section before we go to the next one. What are your thoughts about maybe how storytelling fits into some of these initiatives that the winners have showcased?
Well, I think the first and the most important thing to acknowledge is that each of their stories and everything that each of these groups of people, young people are doing is absolutely critical to achieving the sustainable development goals, because it is this work on the ground that happens, that connects to a lot of the work that's happening on the ground in other parts of the world. I also think what's really, really interesting and important to note here is that one size doesn't fit all. I love the fact that they have chosen to make a difference with ingenuity and to do it through understanding the problem on the ground and coming up with solutions that will help immediately based on the understanding of the people on the ground. And I think that this is something that's very important to share, because different communities have different challenges. And yes, education is critical towards self-empowerment and development. But how is this shared with people? How do we take it to the people? How do we make it accessible and relatable and understandable is what makes each of these programs truly amazing. And I hope that many more people across the planet can adopt these systems and understand how this can be done everywhere else. There's not much else that I can add other than agree completely with what Hindu and Eddie said. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Dia. So just to wrap up this, all of them are fantastic. I do want to comment on just Femi, just learning to learn. If you look at the chat box, has really caught people, because of course we all want young people, well, we want everyone to learn. I'm still trying to learn at my advanced age, but if you don't learn how to learn, you're never going to learn. So keep at it at that. Okay, so we're going to go on to the next group. So group 2 is about literacy and numeracy and some innovative programs that address those challenges. I mean, at the end of the day, those are the foundations for all other learning. So we've got 3 groups in this. So we'll have 2 videos of 1 minute each on 2 of the programs and a live pitch from Rashidat after that. So please go ahead with the video.
Andrew, if I may,
Oh, sorry, Your Excellency, please go ahead.
I just say something, given what Hindu has raised. I mean, part of what we're trying to do here is also do some hand-holding for these teachers and try to see how we unlock the problems for them. So for example, with the RT makers, if we can help with access to market, if we can fit them into a value chain, that's the kind of thing we'd like to do. For the girls for tech, after training them, we've got to say, okay, you've trained them with technology, what else? You've got all sorts of outsourcing programs. You've got things that you can link them up with multinationals and so on. So part of what this fund will do is try to take these ideas and transform them, not just in terms of education, but in terms of how it can give them an access to move out of poverty.
You know, absolutely. I mean, I think part of the challenge that we find in Nigeria is that we need to build out the whole ecosystem, so both the demand and the supply side. There's no point in just giving education if there's then nowhere for that person to go. Thank you, Your Royal Highness. So why don't we go to the group 2, literacy and numeracy? Do we have the tape?
Can I say something?
Your Excellency, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I think that the message that has come from Hindu is one that we have to work with very seriously and very quickly. The teaching and to what extent we can get people to focus on this whole issue of climate change. Chad has a dramatic example of what climate change is yielding. We've seen the shrinking of Lake Chad, which was a huge source of water in the Sahelian area, which is today virtually dried up entirely. The information that comes from the people who live around it and what we need to do to preserve our environment is so very critical. Ghana, we're here in an area which has large forests and waters, but there are obvious developments that are compromising those even in Ghana, which is relatively blessed. I think we need to be able to put the information that Hindu is talking about into practical use as quickly as possible. And that is to feed it into the educational structures of our country. I don't know to what extent she herself is a writer or a commentator for academic work, but it's important that the information and the perspectives that she has on the issue of education and climate change is introduced as quickly as possible into the way in which the teaching is taking place in these areas. That's would be my little contribution.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I don't think anyone would count that as a little contribution. I mean, to put climate education at the heart of the education system at this stage. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for staying with this program so long. I mean, we know you're very, very busy, but I mean, everyone on it appreciates it. And any more comments, please tell us, Your Excellency. Do we have the tape for group 2?
Hello, my name is Jane Chigabachigitole. I am the team leader for the Bloomers Lake Initiative from Karonga, Malawi. Illiteracy is a big problem in Malawi. According to the UNESCO Institute statistics, Malawi has an adult literacy rate of 62.14%. Illiteracy leads to inequalities, lack of self-awareness and economic development, poor health, abuse, fear, and low self-esteem. Our goal is to free youths and girls from illiteracy through reading, writing, through online and in-person short story writing. Children learn to read and write short stories with supportive mentorship and opportunities to publish what they've written. Our goal is to directly impact 500 students. These are 150 boys and 350 girls by 2022. We have some testimonials of how the Bloomers have impacted lives of many. For example, we have a testimonial from 2 students, Sunge Nyirenda as well as Hassan Ndpo. We require support through financial resources such as money for publishing books, and some gadgets such as phones as well as laptops. We would also require some support from you through some mentorship skills. We all can do something. We all can play our part.
Hi, my name is Yemisi Jetuluwa, the founder of the Workbook Initiative based in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, Nigeria. The Workbook Initiative is aimed at improving the quality of education, particularly among the less privileged. The Workbook provides additional support to help students work through high-quality curriculum regardless of where they are. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the Workbook has provided opportunities for students to continue their learning without the need for electronics and internet. Our workbook is designed to be aligned with SDG 4 quality education and the NED 9-year basic education curriculum. The workbook is designed to help students from underprivileged community learn at home. It's self-explanatory, easy to use, and allows students to continually practice problems to enhance their learning. So far, we have reached out to local communities and piloted our workbook amongst 80 learners. Our aim is to reach out to 5 more communities by the end of 2021 to provide them with quality, life-applicable, integrated primary education that will help situate learners in the rightful place in the society as future leaders. Thanks so much for listening.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to introduce you to the Reading Room, a mobile library that takes books to disadvantaged communities in Abuja, Nigeria. My name is Rashida Sadiq, and I'm a co-founder of the Reading Room. My partner and I have noticed that most Nigerian children are reading far below grade level standards, and we wondered why. We realized that most children do not have access to any books outside the school recommended texts, and thus they are unable to practice their reading and attain fluency. This has led to a situation where even the children that are literate have weak vocabulary and poor comprehension skills. Our solution is to provide access to books by allowing weekly borrowing, but we know that this isn't enough as a solution to bridge the gap. So we explicitly teach comprehension skills and we introduce creative response tasks. We also train volunteers who believe will take responsibility for promoting literacy within the community. During our comprehension sessions, we try to teach skills, questioning, inferencing, drawing conclusions, and understanding figurative language. We also believe that knowledge should be applied. So for every book we read, we have tasks and activities that the children get to do, and they always love this. We believe that this helps them to solidify whatever they have learned and to make it applicable within their lives. Remarkably, we have noticed that with only 4 books per month per child, there has been an improvement in their reading. There have also been great improvement in their creativity, critical thinking, communication, and collaboration. These gains have given us validation for our efforts, and studies have shown that such foundational skills are essential for attainment of improvement across all subject areas. Within the next month, we hope to acquire more books, to attract more volunteers, to reach out to more communities, and to get a purpose-designed bus for our library. At the moment, we operate out of a minivan and cardboard boxes, and we know that once we're able to get the bus, our borrowing processes will be smoother and we'll be able to achieve more visibility. Literacy is a fundamental skill for lifelong growth, lifelong learning, and success. Readers are leaders. I believe that every child should be able to read, such that we can have the leaders that will improve Africa. And I know that this is a vision worth striving for. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Rashidi. Thank you, Yemisi, and thank you, Jane. And wonderful to see you all again. So let me throw open for comments or questions to the SDG advocates. But this time, I will obey protocols. His Excellency, the President of Republic of Ghana, is still with us. Of course, he can interrupt and add whatever he wants at any time, and His Royal Highness is the same. So. Who out of the 5 of you wants to start with some thoughts on this? This section was really around literacy and numeracy and some innovative approaches to that.
Andrew, should I jump in?
Go ahead.
Okay, great. This is fantastic. Thank you so much, Rashida, for that very, very wonderful presentation. Okay, because I'm here to comment on how storytelling can impact people's understanding, awareness, and response to the work, the good work that each of you is doing. The only thing that I would encourage you, this group and the previous group, to do more of is to personalize your stories. Tell people why you started doing what you're doing. Make it as personal as you can, because people don't connect with facts and figures. People connect with human stories. And when you can tell the story of one child, even if it's just one child, and what reading a book did for that child, and exhibit through that story, that narrative, how their creative thinking or their rational thinking changed, it would, I think, have a far more reaching impact in your communication. And that's something that we really do want to achieve, because if we want to scale up the Sustainable Development Goals, we need more and more and more people to understand the human emotion and the human challenge and the triumph of achieving change in the most personal way possible.
Thank you.
But well
Thank you,
done.
Nia. Thank you. Other thoughts? Hindu, Eddie?
Yes, I have a thought. Really phenomenal projects. I'm really interested in the kind of books that are being distributed in terms of content, because I think as Dia was speaking so eloquently about the power of storytelling, I think it's so important that we see ourselves reflected in the books that we read, right? So in other words, I'm just wondering whether there's an opportunity for a partnership with writers, with authors, who are African, who are women, who can maybe speak about stories of empowerment and resilience, so that the young minds who are consuming these books don't just consume narratives that are, completely different from their own experience, but get to see themselves in a different light. I think it was Chimamanda Adichie who spoke about the power of seeing herself represented and her own community. So I think that that's potentially a powerful collaboration, and we might want to think about how we can connect, young writers so that they can provide, different kinds of narratives for these young people. But fabulous project, really good.
Andrew, sadly, we didn't get to hear Jane very well for the Bloomers. I think
should we replay it? Should we replay it?
I think Eddie would have been very happy with what they're doing in Malawi with the Bloomers. This is exactly what we're talking about, and that's what Chikaba is doing. The audio wasn't very good. I do hope we can get that.
Yeah, I think also, yeah, I mean, the Malawi project, Jane's project is really fantastic. And maybe we could replay that. I think it's important enough we take a minute to do that. Is that possible, Seth or Eric, to replay with better audio?
Hi there. Our audio file is a bit limited, but Jane is also on the call, so Jane can speak to that if
so Jane, can you come on and just talk? I mean, your project is so powerful, and also it's important for the whole program, because it's not in, it's in a smaller country, and Jane, please go ahead and take a minute or two and just tell us yourself, your story.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Our project is called the Bloomers Learning Initiative. The problem which we are trying to resolve, or which we are trying to solve, is literacy. According to the UNESCO Institute of Statistics, Malawi has an adult literacy of 62.14%. It is 130 in ranking. So what we are trying to do as the Bloomers basically is to end literacy through short story writing as well as through reading. We are in belief that we are all meant to bloom wherever we are placed, or regardless of wherever we are placed and the situations that we face around us. So we are targeting 500 students. These are secondary school and primary school students who are trained on how to write short stories as well as how to read short stories. After these students have written their short stories, the stories are published into books, which are later on read by other students. Like in this case, the reading room could also utilize the stories which are written by the bloomers. We have had testimonials of students, which was shown in the video, of students who have benefited from the Bloomers Learning Initiative, which has spread across Malawi and have impacted almost 1,200 students. Right now, we are awaiting publishing of some books by 17 learners, and we're also waiting publishing of some books with the help of 1 million teachers to reach out to 50 learners. So basically, we'll publish our books into volumes like Bloomers Volume 1, Bloomers Volume 2, etc., etc. Our point of need right now is the finances to publish the books. We're also looking forward to having some gadgets which would help the learners publish their books, such as phones, laptops. We're also looking forward to have some mentorship from skilled people, like we had Gia, who is a good storyteller. So we are looking forward to mentorship from such people who are very skilled in short story writing, so that at the end of the day, we have a lot of authors coming from Africa and having books written by African children, read by African children. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Jane. It is such an inspiring story, and of course, it's, to be a great reader also means you should be a great writer, and the two things are kind of fit together. And your program is really inspiring. Just back to the SDG advocates and His Royal Highness.
Yes, I was just going to say that, part of the thought process for this, when we're selecting the cohorts, was to try and find certain synergies and connectivities among those that we chose. So, for example, you can see very clearly, if we're able to provide funding for Jane to publish her stories, those books can be part of the reading room, and so on. So we take a part that we focus on. We take a number of these ideas. You go to a village or a town and take a cohort of students, and you bring in 3, 4, 5 of these ideas, including the RT makers. So while they do learning technology, they can learn crochet, they can learn reading. And the idea is, in the next 6 years, what kind of impact have we made on these children relative to the average literacy rates in their area? And if we can have that proof of concept, we can then invite governments and show them that with these ideas, you can actually raise the level. Because part of the problems we have in Nigeria, it's not just so much out of school children, but the children who are in school who are learning nothing. So there are parts of the country where you finish 6 years of primary school and still haven't learned anything. If we're able to show that with these ideas, you can improve the output of teachers and the quality of students, then we can scale that. We can get the government to scale that up.
Your Highness, I think that is absolutely extraordinary. And I think that what you're talking about is an entire ecosystem, seeing all of the different connections, an ecosystem of learning and an ecosystem of inclusive education. And I think for us as advocates, I think that's an invitation for us to really think deeply and think critically about how we support that ecosystem. Because when you scale the entire ecosystem, you're right, all of the different interventions in the different projects support one another, and that creates a critical mass of learners. So I think that's absolutely extraordinary.
All right, thank you so much. I've just changed devices. Do people still hear me?
Yes, may I come in? Andrew?
Yeah, please, Hindu, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I really wanted to support what Dia and Eddie said. It's really very important to make it personally, and it's very important to make it also locally. So with these 3 wonderful initiatives, let me share with you one of the example how we did in Chad. We have a direction that in charge of the nomadic educations, peoples who are in the remote areas and access with a difficulty, like the difficult part that you cannot access. So how we did that in 2010, I was one of the consultants to go to my communities, to all those nomadic peoples and talk about the educations. So one thing that I get from them, they say, they don't want to send them children to school because the school is not adapting to them the way of living. They say they cannot have the school that can teach them the history of the France, without giving them the information that they want to resolve right now. They say if the school can learn them children how to count, this is important to do mathematics, how to learn the conflict over water, how to learn what they can use immediately for them families, they can send them children to school. The second thing they say, they wanted to have the curricula to get adapted while going to school Monday to Friday. So Monday is the market day. Right. Maybe Tuesday is the market day, but Sunday, Saturday, they have nothing. They say they want to that them children go to the school Saturday, Sunday, and Monday they can stay back home with the cattle, and then the elders can go to school. So when we just to go directly to the communities, we know what they want to get studied. So you can adapt all the initiative that you are doing to those communities, and then they can accept it and read. So when you do the history that adapt to the result that they want, you wanted to give the information. I mean, what is the education? That's the things we have to ask ourselves. Education, why we are going to school? Are we all wanted to go to school to be in the office? We wanted to go to school to understand each other. We wanted to go to school to develop our communities. So to develop our communities, we need to give a response to what people need. So if you put that in the education that you wanted to have, into the books, that can make your initiative very unique and very accepted. I know what is happening in Malawi. I mean, I saw the way of the education. I try to mentor a bit a scientific young women. So they wanted to do the science beyond just the science as concept 1 + 1 is 2, but they wanted to adapt it to their own communities. So work together, 3 of you, you will have a lot of things to learn. But really congratulations to all 3 of you. Over to you, Andrew.
No, thank you, Hindu, and thank you to all the participants. We need to move on. Just interested.
You have the president. You have the president asking the floor.
Oh.
I'm aware that of the pressures on you in handling this very complex program, but there's just one point, and that is a point that was made by His Highness as well as by Hindu. We're talking about adapting educational systems to be able to confront the realities of people's lives. That adaptation is not going to succeed unless a concerted effort is made to link the new ideas that are being developed with what the educational institutions are putting out as curricula, because that is at the heart of it. When people go to school, they learn what the official educational institutions of their community, district, region, nation put out as the matters that they have to learn. And it is that change that we must see happen, so that the linkage between these ideas and what comes out as formal educational policy, I think, has to be one of the most important outcomes of the decisions that we take this afternoon. How to ensure that linkage so that it becomes meaningful, the various ideas that are being put in place in terms of their impact on the lives of people.
Understood. Very well said, Your Excellency. Very well said. Thank you. Okay, so our third group is we term complex populations, but these are leaders that are taking going to groups that may have never received the education they should be getting, and they just, this is just fantastic stuff. So I just one of our videos also seems to suffer from the sound issue, so we're going to have Mahfouz present 1 minute, a couple of minutes in person. So we have just one video, which is Shagit's video on the unusual school, and we'll have 2 live presentations from Mahfouz to just speak, and then Anita will talk about the Amina Dyslexia Center. So please go ahead and play the tape that we have for the unusual school.
Hello, I'm Olisha Milori, the project team leader of the Unusual School, Lagos, Nigeria. According to a report by UNICEF Nigeria, 1 in every 5 of the world's out-of-school children is in Nigeria. 1 in every 5 of the world's out-of-school children is in Nigeria. The closure of schools in Nigeria due to the global pandemic of the coronavirus further created a learning gulf and learning losses across the edu ecosystem. In indigent communities of Lagos State, where most families earn below $1 per day amidst harsh economic realities, the children were left behind as they were not equipped to adapt or transition to the new online methods of learning, thereby not being able to keep up with their peers due to lack of access to digital tools. As a means of bridging this gap, the Unusual School designed an open learning intervention with the aim of reaching these children across these indigent communities. Our goal is to empower them with soft skills and develop cognitive thinking skills to give them prerequisite knowledge for now and the future. With this intervention, we'll be able to reach over 2,000 children across 10 indigent communities, giving them learning opportunities. Our vision is to reach over 10,000 children across different indigent communities, giving them quality education. At Unusual School, we believe the way education is being delivered needs to be reimagined, especially to communities in need. At Unusual School, learning cannot wait. Unusual School, bridging the learning gap.
Thank you. So as I said, Mafis, we're not going to play the tape. Mafis, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, Dr. Andrew.
Okay, so you're on the spot. I'm sure you recorded very well. I'm sure you'll speak just as well. But please tell everyone about what you do, because it is incredible.
All right. Thank you very much. It's a privilege to have my presentation on the project I do. My name is Mahfouz Alabidu, the founder, Inmate Education Foundation. What we do at Inmate Education is that we try as much as possible to bring closer all-inclusive education for inmates and juveniles in correctional centers. Because the research has shown that 7 out of 10 inmates and the juveniles, of course, are not educated or drop out, so they find themselves in that situation. And it has been a worrisome situation because many of them are in that situation because they could not have the opportunity of employment and the opportunity of being developed. So in that case, they find themselves in that situation. So what we do is to provide literacy, adults, advanced, and open university education to the people in the correctional centers and also to the juveniles. The juveniles are, of course, those who we provide the literacy and the education of primary and basic education. So this we've been doing, in the last 3 years, been able to impact about 1,000 inmates, particularly in Lagos State correctional centers. And we've also extended to the juveniles, which we started just recently. And we had about 90 juveniles that we are actually impacting. We are actually ensuring that they also have the literacy and the basic education. Most times these people, our engagement with them are shown that they are people that also want to be great. They also want the opportunity that everybody has, but they do not have this opportunity. So we try as much as possible to mobilize volunteers, university lecturers and people of professions to come to their aid and support them. This we've been trying to do, and we ensure that they also have the quality education that they deserve in line with the the SDG goal 4 of the SDG goal 4, and to also have the all-inclusive education of the UNESCO by 2030. So this, we hope, will go a long way to develop them and to also give them to also give a society that we all desire, because we don't want a recidivism of people who go to prison and come back to prison after all. So we are willing to support the community to have a free and fair community without recidivism, and people who would after then come back to the society to be better citizens and better community developers. Thank you very much.
Marcus, thank you for that. And you need to read the chat already. I mean, the response to what you're doing is just fantastic, and I'm sure that I'm sure that Eddie's going to have a comment for you after we get the next presentation. So we now have Anita to come on. Again, Anita's another incredible story about a community that may not always be served well by education. So Anita, can you hear me?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me. My name is Anita Anchat Kevin. I am the founder of Amina Dyslexia Center, a social enterprise based in Kaduna, Nigeria that works to improve the learning ability of dyslexics. Dyslexia can cause illiteracy, and illiteracy is a major cause of poverty the world over. At Amina Dyslexia Center, we solve the problem of illiteracy as caused by dyslexia. Dyslexia is a neurological condition that slows the brain's ability to learn. It affects 10 to 20% of every population. That is 2 in every 10 children in a classroom are dyslexic. From our work in Kaduna, Nigeria, we found out that about 98% of teachers are unaware of the condition. Therefore, we designed a 4-hour school system to help dyslexics find their learning strengths and conquer their learning challenges. This gives them access to quality education. The 4-hour school system uses an individualized education plan and assistive technology to support dyslexics in exploring their learning strengths and focus it towards a career goal. This makes learning more purposeful and enjoyable. In the last 24 months, we engaged about 811 educators and 213 parents within Kaduna State. This allowed us to reach about 9,000 school children, 900 of whom are dyslexic. While doing that, we raised $3,200 in revenue through our assessment and remediation, which we offer at $80 per dyslexic. We also generated revenue from courses for teachers and parents. In the next 5 years, we intend to scale our 4-hour school system through our franchise business model, which can be incorporated within an existing school system or as a standalone dyslexia school. The team at Amina Dyslexia Center consists of a dyslexia practitioner, a computer scientist, a speech therapist, and a linguist. Our competitive advantage is found in our curriculum, our business model, and in the near future, our assessment for dyslexia. And that is, we are building a software that will help us assess dyslexia. We need about $80,000 to automate our services, to develop decodable reading materials, to acquire licenses for our franchise business model, and to create awareness about dyslexia through our marketing activities. Our vision for dyslexics in Africa is to empower them with the right skills that will enable them to unravel their creativity and achieve their personal best. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Anita, and thank you, Mara. It's great to see you, Shagan, on the video. I mean, as you can see, these are 3 leaders that have stepped up and are bringing education to, we use complex populations for people often left behind. I'm going to do a little bit better job on protocol at this point and maybe ask His Excellency, who's stayed with us through the whole session. So thank you, sir. And His Royal Highness, if you have some thoughts or comments on the complex population part of our day today.
I think I'll yield to His Excellency. I'll leave my after the other SDG advocates have spoken. I think, Andrew, maybe we should give a chance to Dr. Masur Mukhtar and the trustees in case they would like to make a comment as well at this point before we close and actually have a chance to, because they're going to be the ones administering the fund and allocating the resources from what they've seen so far. Thank you very much. So I'll yield to His Excellency.
Okay, thank you. So the trustees, I mean, I've seen some of the, sorry, go ahead. Sorry, so I'll ask the trustees per His Royal Highness's request here. This is as we come to the end of our session today. Do you have any thoughts on this section or perhaps overall from what you've seen today? So the Honorable Minister, Professor Jane, Miss Sherry.
Yes, Master, please
go
go ahead.
first, Sherry?
Go ahead, Master.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. I'm really delighted and honored to join you today. And also, I would like to thank Your Highness for inviting me to be part of the Board of Trustees, part of this important initiative. When you mooted the idea, I thought that this was a good opportunity once again to continue to get inspiration from your commitment, dedication, and to change the world, and the passion and energy and enthusiasm that you deploy towards this ideal. But I now see that there are people that appear to be more passionate, more energized, more dedicated, more committed. And I think maybe it's time for us to retire and yield this floor to the younger generation. But again, I really have enjoyed this afternoon session, and really look forward to the opportunity to work with you and with the 1 Million Teachers Incorporated team, along with other stakeholders, to leverage the contacts I have with some of the development partners, also like Global Partnership for Education, the Islamic Development Bank, and others, to see how we could really together make a difference. And I want to really thank and appreciate all those that have made the presentations to be truly inspiring and really very motivating for all of us. And there is hope really that the younger generation will really lift us to higher levels and help address the major challenges that we have been confronting. For me, this is really important at both personal and professional level to be able to contribute and see to the success of this important initiative. So thank you once again. And
thank you,
God
Honorable
bless.
Minister. Thank you, Honorable Minister. So Professor Jane or Ms. Sherry, do you have any comments you'd like to add?
Sure. I mean, it was as I mentioned in the comments, what an honor, what a pleasure to be here today. So inspiring. I'll start with that. You know, I as I tend to do when I hear inspiring people speak, I've been taking, you know, keywords down and things like that, and just for my own thinking. But I think it was Eddie used the word ecosystem at some point. And I've, you know, just listening to Hindu talk about perspective and what is education? And that's a really critical question that I feel like a lot of these groups are addressing, right? Is what is education? It's only as valuable as it is useful, really. And, you know, we're still figuring that out in North America. We're trying to figure out problem-based learning, things where kids can actually take the knowledge and see how it's useful outside of the classroom. And all of these projects are doing such a phenomenal job at that. And it's a real pleasure. And as I mentioned in a previous talk, I had a whole group of people behind me all my life as an academic saying, you know, that's a great idea, Jane, you know, run with that. And I just want to say the same to all of you. These are phenomenal ideas, and please run with them. And it's my pleasure to support all of you. And thank you for including me.
Thank you, Professor Jane. Sherry, do you have a final comment from your side?
I will just briefly add, it's just been such an honor and a pleasure to have been here. Huge thank you to all of the organizers and all of the speakers today. It was so inspiring. And I want to just loop us back to the beginning, which was education is the root of solving all the other SDGs. And thank you to everyone who is making this change in the world. And I'm just honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. So as we come to close, let me ask the SDG advocates, Hindu, Eddie, if you have any final comments at this stage before we give the final word to His Excellency and to His Royal Highness.
Yeah. Go ahead first, Eddie. You first.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to comment on the last 3 projects we saw, because obviously I'm deeply, deeply passionate about inclusion. And I was reflecting as I was listening to those three presentations, I was thinking about what President Nana was saying about reimagining education and public policy specifically, because I think that's so important, because ultimately what the last three presentations revealed for us is that nobody is disposable, right?
Yes.
Nobody's disposable, and everybody's stories deserve to be told. I saw that comment in the chat. And I was thinking about the focus on inmates, on vulnerable populations, on people with disabilities. I think we need flexibility within public policy. We need flexibility from public policy makers so that we can cater to the most vulnerable populations in recognition of the fact that nobody is disposable. You cannot discard communities because of who they are or where they come from. So I think that's incredibly important. And Your Highness, I'd love to, have a conversation offline as well, because I think, I'm in the process of starting a global access fund and mobilizing $1 billion for the billion people with disabilities in the world right now. And I would love to be able to get the fund to also benefit the projects that we've seen today. That's a personal commitment that I'm making to you and to the cohort that's here, because I'm truly moved and inspired. And so I'd love to join heads with you, Your Highness, so that we can figure out how to scale this up. So thank you, for this.
Thank you, Eddie. Hindu.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just to join my voice to Eddie, I think the last three part is also very inspiring as all of you. So leaving no one behind in education, that's what I get from the last part. So that's also what all about the SDGs is leaving no one behind. So my conclusion to all of you, as your initiative moving forward, do not forget the objective 17, partnership. Partners among yourself, because if you do the things in silo, maybe you can go fast, but you cannot go far. So move together, then you can go very far in all your initiative. This is really very important. And what Eddie said, it's very important to interlink all the initiative that we are having, like the one he's doing for the people with disability fund. So in my side, I'm doing on climate change and indigenous peoples. If you hear from my call also during the Biden summit, it's how all the ODA, and I know that His Highness used to be the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, so you know what I'm talking about. So all the development bank, all the climate funds, all of them, how they can commit at least $1 billion to all the indigenous lead solutions. We want to the communities lead solutions to be the one who can drive, because they know better the communities, they know better the realities, they can adapt all those realities. So how we can put all what we are doing together and help our peoples moving forward. And educations, it's not only about going to school. Education, we have the informal education that we can put in the centers. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Hindu. Dia, we need a final word from you on what this is all meant for storytelling this afternoon.
Well, it's hard to just say that, Andrew, because I think it's meant for a lot more than just storytelling. But I would remind everyone a few of the things that were big takeaways for me. And of course, all the wonderful leaders who are doing the work on the ground, a few reminders for them. One, remember to make it personal. Two, remember to keep it indigenous. Make sure it's local, make sure it's real, make sure it's accessible to more people, and keep the appeals as personal as possible. The third thing that Hindu touched upon, which I would like to reiterate, because climate and environment is a very, very big part of the work that I do as a storyteller and as an advocate. And I do believe that and none of our sustainable development goals are achievable if we do not succeed in achieving climate action. And I think ecological literacy has to become a very important and a very critical part of educational programs across the planet. And for all the young leaders who are trying to make a difference on the ground in their individualistic, unique, wonderful ways, I think if they can just find more ways for young people, whether it is the juveniles that we heard about or all the other young children that we heard about, to reconnect with nature and understand the power of nature and learn with nature, it would make an even bigger impact and difference. Thank you.
Thank you, dear. Before asking for a final word from His Excellency, from His Royal Highness, I was going to ask Anne-Marie from the Executive Director of the UN and his partnership of this, if she had something she wanted to say as we come to an end. Anne-Marie? Well, perhaps we've lost Anne-Marie. I thought she was still with us on that. But so let me ask, turn it over to His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, and His Royal Highness for some final thoughts as we come to a close.
So thank you very much, and I want to congratulate you on having been able to moderate this very complex program so efficiently. You've done well, and it enabled us to have had a very rich discussion. I think the comments that Ndpo made are particularly apt as far as I'm concerned, and that is that the reform of public policy and education is the key to progress, because education is a peculiarly public product and will remain so. No society in the world organizes an educational system outside of what you might call the governmental system. So changing thinking, changing attitudes within that is what will bring us to the advances we're seeking. So the linkage between for instance, what His Highness is doing and what policy makers are doing in Nigeria, in Ghana, across the continent, is what will determine the capacity of these reforms to succeed. So I think that, for me, that is a fundamental reflection that has come out of these discussions and what we need to focus on and insist on, so that the reforms that we're looking for to provide an education that is relevant for the needs of our people at this time in our history can become real.
Thank you for that, Your Excellency. I think that is such a powerful idea that the education system needs to be reformed so education is relevant for what's actually required. And I can certainly say in Canada that's not always the case. Your Royal Highness, your session, can you please final thoughts?
Thank you, Andrew. I really I'm touched by this afternoon. I'm actually getting emotional. Your Excellency, my brother, my friend, my president, thank you very much for you to have taken 2 hours of your time to attend this. Is something that we all appreciate and grateful for, and I'm personally grateful for this. My beautiful sisters, dear Indo, thank you very much for being here with the team, and my brother Eddie, and thank you, the trustees. I see from the chat, apart from Eddie's announcement, we already have Andrew Moss offering to introduce Mahfouz to groups that are working on education for inmates. We can see links between society and Indo. We're already beginning to see where the mentoring is going to come from and where the support will come from, storytelling. Some ideas have come up. One of the interesting ideas I saw is as we go and teach inmates, we maybe think of with the bloomers taking stories from inmates, telling their own stories, and so on. So even in here, we've seen new ideas for new ways to expand this. I'll be very honest to say, I don't know where this is going today. Okay, I just know that we have to do something. We have to start somewhere, and we have to work on all the support, all the partnership. And I don't know, another 3, 4, 5 years, this could be a great thing. And certainly what His Excellency has said, and if the team remembers, I've made this point before, we have to have a strong collaboration with the public sector. You go to a place, you got to work with the government. The government needs to know what you're doing, and the government needs to support it. And hopefully it is with the support of the government that other people come in, and then this can be scaled up. This was a wonderful afternoon, largely because of the quality of people who were here. There are many who have not spoken. The Nigerian High Commissioner is here. I can see Anne-Marie is back, and I hope we'll still give her a chance to say something before Andrew closes. But I want to thank all the trustees. I want to thank all the advocates. I want to thank the cohort because we're here for you. I want to thank my chair, Your Excellency, the President. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. I can't thank you enough for this. So Andrew, please let's give Anne-Marie a chance to say something, and then we close. Thank you.
Anne-Marie, you have the final word on this amazing session.
You're muted.
Thank you for the incredible honor. And what I'm so impressed with is this intergenerational leadership that I'm seeing coming together in an inspired way, in a really meaningful way of really putting people and the planet really at the center. Thank you so much, Mr. President, for being our wonderful co-chair of the SDG Advocates. Your Highness, thank you for leading the way and giving us direction. And to all the other who are listening today, I think we've got our marching orders. It's our job now to make sure all of these students succeed so that all of our children and all students can learn. Thank you so much for letting us be here with you today.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. So I'll just do a final thank you. I think we've come to the end of our time. I just want to thank all of the incredible team that works with His Royal Highness on putting this together. He named them at the beginning, but I just think that they've done a fantastic job today. So a big vote of thanks for them. And thanks to all of the participants, the trustees, to the SDG advocates that have joined us today, to all the dignitaries, to Anne-Marie from the UN, and every guest who's here, but most of all to the 10 extraordinary young leaders that didn't get asked to do what they're doing. They just stepped up and did it, and it's an inspiration for all of us. So thank you, and that brings our program to an end today.
Andrew, if we can all unmute and give everyone a round of applause, please. Thank you.
Wonderful.